So a few months ago, I uploaded a video about my favorite ultimate abilities in Smite. So as you can tell by my dumbass thumbnail, I'm here to talk about the other ones that I don't like. Starting off, I have to say that this list is by no means meant to be taken as definitive assessment of ultimates. It's all my opinion. I've come to the conclusions on this list by looking at the power, effect, and teamfights flashiness, and by comparing these ults to others that are similar in their respective classes and lanes. Inevitably, an ult that you like will be on here, so let me know in the comments what you think I should replace it with, or in what inventive way I should end my life. So here's a list about the worst of the best abilities in Smite as of the patch 3.24. Okay, so something that I can't stand in Smite is whenever high-res goes crazy bipolar with gods and basically takes them from being complete garbage to complete gods, such as Fafnir, or from being nasty as hell to being as bad as hell. And you never want that kind of shit. But basically that is what they did to Susanoo's ultimate, Typhoon. Typhoon started out as this crazy good ability to round out Susanoo's kit because it not only allowed for some closing potential since it knocked up, but it also did some nice damage. So this fucking weeaboo right here was killer. But then Hi-Rez went and fucked it up. They went all crazy ex-girlfriend on his ass and cut out the knock-up, so then Typhoon felt more like an autistic kid kicking a puddle of water at you. It completely threw off the point of the ult. A jungler's ult is rarely to just do damage. Normally it's meant to close some gaps and apply hard CC to secure kills, instead of just water bending some bullshit their way. Granted, this patch to it was necessary. Susanoo was insane before they changed this. But still, this isn't a list about the most balanced ults. That would be boring as hell. I mean, since then they've added the knockup back to this ult when it charges for 1 second. But even after this, it still lacks a lot of the luster that it held from before. And who is to say that Hi-Rez isn't done with this poor guy's ult? I mean, maybe it'll get better, but for now it's mediocre compared to what it once was. So it's got the number 10 spot on this list. Warrior ultimates are somewhat of a weird niche ability. They have the task of allowing the solo laner to stick in their lane a bit longer, or give them an up in a 1v1. However, they are still tasked with keeping them relevant in teamfights. Although if you're playing Ravana, then you'll probably have a hard time with ult either in lane or outside of it. Now the point of this is by no means to call Ravana a shit god. He's fucking ridiculous in the mid-late game, we all know that. But his ult, on the other hand, is just so spectacularly underwhelming. Obviously it's a leap, it does damage, hot shit, it's a warrior ult, we get it. But the additional effect is what really perturbs me. Whenever Ravana hits, he links himself to a centermost god, and they do full damage, while the others do half damage to him. My problem is, whenever you're a solo lane god and you're looking to secure a kill, this ult doesn't really give you too much, because the centermost god is the one who does full damage. A one-on-one has no real use for this ability. Especially since the radius on this is small as hell, and the wind-up time for when he comes down is actually pretty large. However, in a team fight, it wouldn't make much sense to focus the ult on a hard damage dealer like an ADC or a mage, because that would mean that you're taking full damage from them, and the damage is halved on people who are more likely to be dishing out CC instead. So the least amount of damage would be achieved by ulting a support, and that wouldn't carry as much impact as blasting a mage. Man, I mean, why couldn't they just add a passive effect to this or something? Why doesn't it charge your piranhas or whatever the hell the fuck that's called? When making this list, I really took a deep look into the ults across the board and across the lanes. In any specific role, I compared the ults against each other to help determine these entries. Here's the thing though, like every fucking ult from the Guardian category is the same thing. They're all big AoE style attacks with some different added effect like a slow or a stun. So comparing them all proved that in regards to ult potential, Geb is just straight trash. When we look at other Guardians similar to Geb, they all outclass him in both damage and effect. The interesting thing about this ult is that it isn't damage based, it's actually percentage based, which means that it cannot kill, no matter what. Whereas gods like Ymir and Sylvanas both do flat damage, and Sylvanas actually has a damage over time effect. But also, Geb has a stun, whereas Sylvanas has a knockup, which is just a much superior form of CC. And Ymir has a slow, which isn't as great, but considering the ass-blasting amount of damage behind it, I'll give it a buy. Cataclysm is not horrible, but compared to what else you could have in that role, it leaves a lot to be desired. My personal opinion on ultimates is that they should be unique in a god's kit. They should feel like their own thing that helps out other abilities in the team. What they shouldn't feel like is just a supersized version of another part of the kit. And I'm looking right at searing pain for this one. Ra's ult bugs me for a couple of reasons. First of all, some fucking work Hi-Rez put into this one. They took Ra's 1 and just made it a bit brighter. It's not like it has any unique twist to it, it's just a straight goddamn line. And don't give me any of the shit about being simple because he's a starting god. Guan Yu and Neith both have some of the most inventive ults in the game, and they're starting gods. But not only is Ra's ult lackluster, it just straight up has a better counterpart into Kulkin's ult. At max level, Spirit of the Nine Winds does 100 extra damage, along with an extra 20% of magical power. However, it also knocks up, which is incredibly helpful in team fights. Now granted, Spirit of the Nine Winds does show the path of the ult before it hits, but to any skilled player, they can easily dodge Ra's ult because the man streams like a fucking maniac before he lets it go. Like, come on, even without my sound on, I can hear this bitch about to ult. Regurgitation is disgusting in general. Like, just look at this dog vomiting up spaghetti. Yeah, vile, isn't it? But the most disgusting type of regurgitation is Bacchus's ult. Regurgitate is kind of unique in the sense that it requires another ability in Bacchus' kit to have actual effect. Throughout the build-up to the ult, Bacchus must consume minions with this too, and then finally he can spew them back out in the most lackluster fashion possible. The main problem with the ult is that it takes a while to hit the ground, making it easy to avoid. But also, the only source of damage comes from the minions. So unless you have a full stack of 6, you probably can't do much. The most interesting thing is that the ult changes Bacchus' basic attack to a cone shape, giving him a slight buff in range, but it still doesn't add to much. Granted, this ult's ability to slow and cripple makes it great in the early game, but as soon as it becomes late game and most ADCs and assassins have lifesteal items and high attack speed, the minions are literally free health seeing as their damage doesn't scale with the ult. What would make this so much better would be to get rid of the cripple entirely, nerf the slow, and instead add a disarm, because then it would prevent the lifesteal and make ganking early game warriors a lot easier. I feel like I'm forgetting something for this entry. Oh yeah. Oh, don't mind me, I was just gonna sit here and read this book. I guess you can have the number 5 entry in the meantime though. Why the fuck is Nightcrawler so lame? I have always had a soft spot for Acne, and I was so glad to see that they reworked her in Season 3. But what I was really bummed about was that they didn't get rid of her bullshit excuse for an ult. Oh boy, she can do a whole 150 damage at level 5, and she can climb on a web for 4 seconds and come down in a moderately sized area with no alternative effects. Boy, ain't computers just magical? How do you even pass off putting this kind of thing up against Thor, whose ult stuns, does more damage at lower levels, and has a wider distance of travel? Oh boy guys, look, I just found this new Arachne skin that makes her look like Hu Yi. And for some reason her ult is now graphed to the 3 button. Oh wait, that's not Arachne at all. That's just me showing how her ult is bullshit. Ah, that was a good book. Oh hey! Jingjian's ult's finally done channeling! Yo, why does this dumbass ult take so long to charge? I get that it's only 1 second, but 1 second in Smite is a long time. That is plenty of time to pop beads, drop a med for the prep of being thrown into a team fight, or just as well jump out of it. Granted, it acquires your team great positioning advantage over the other team because you're literally throwing them to wherever you want, but you have to work pretty hard to catch them off guard with this ult. And that's without even looking at its 100 fucking second cooldown that never goes down through the ranks. The biggest problem is that the setup for it will not always provide the results you want. Very similar to Ares' ult, Blink is almost essential for Whirlwind of Rage and Steel. But even then, it is not an assured hit. And whenever some dumbass Jing player is charging down duo lane at you, you probably know what's coming, and you can avoid it easily. Hunter ultimates are sort of a weird concept. As Hunter abilities revolve around helping them land basics to get kills, the ultimate is basically supposed to be a bigger help, which is pretty obviously seen with hunters like Rama, Hu Yi, and Neith. Their ults all have some damage and nice finishing potential for their basics to secure a kill. And securing a kill is what it's all about. Unless the ult doesn't fucking work. You know, I kind of feel bad about Airstrike being here because out of all of the gods on this list, Jingwei is probably my favorite. But it's so hard to like her whenever her ult just hinders her abilities. The first thing that I can't stand about Airstrike is that it doesn't feel like it has any great impact. And I'm actually talking about the physical feel of it. I have the same problem with Izanami's ult, where I put it down and it's like, oh boy, that was worth the 80-second cooldown. I think the main problem is the animation. While everyone in this wide area gets hit, the actual animation doesn't make that apparent at all. If it had something more apparent like Apuash's ult, then maybe it would be a little bit better. But nothing about it excuses the hour-long wind-up time. I mean, for God's sakes, I thought Xingjian was bad, but on a god based around speed, this is a killer. And who can forget its release whenever you could take yourself right the fuck off the map? To me, I just see plenty of missed opportunity with this ult. Since she already has a lot of mobility with her 1 and 3, then maybe add a slow or a stun as an ult rather than another gap closer. I mean, despite all of this, her passive is basically her ult anyway, so why the fuck am I complaining? I find that many of the best ults are the hardest to hit and the hardest to avoid. They take genuine skill and foresight to read, but some ults that really get me are the ones that require little skill to evade. However, there are a special few that have the unique ability of requiring fuck all to avoid. All you have to do to stop Dankest of Knights from actually doing anything is step back, take your hands off, and watch as an entire 90 seconds of build-up fades away. The only thing that this ultimate can really help with is allowing your support to rotate into a position to hit more targets with an ult or something. Which isn't a lot considering that this is basically comparable to turning the brightness really low on someone's computer. However, if you could put any other ADC ult into this guy's tit, you would make it wildly better. But no, instead he's just stuck with the ability to dim your gamma a couple times over. So interestingly enough, the worst ultimate, in my opinion, in this game comes from pretty much the worst god in the game. Those two things are probably related. Pillar of Acne is one of the most backwards moves you could ever think of. Very few things in life actively scream, kill me. Bootcut jeans, YouTube comments, living in any South American country. But Hades' ult definitely falls into that category. For some reason, Hades creates a pool around him that sucks enemies in at a faster rate than they can escape, and damages every 0.5 seconds. But that's it. I mean, it robs protections, gives Hades protections, but the fucker, there are items for that would probably do a better job at taking out enemies than Hades does. In a meta that is so heavily focused on burst and mobility, compared to mages like Janus, Thoth, Syla, an ult that keeps you entirely stationary seems so asinine. The problem is that this ult is practically useless if you have more than 2 people in a fight. Once you get into larger team fights and Hades pops down an ult, all it takes is those around him to mutually agree, hey, let's kill this fucker. He can't put up any defense, and he's just a minor annoyance. But shit, he's CC immune, so what are we gonna do? Oh hey, you can take him out with 4 hits from an ADC, because he's a goddamn mage with an ult that screams, shoot me. The only true benefit that this ult provides is a pretty decent ganking tool. But hey, I know an easy way out of this one. Oh shit boy, beads are a thing. Or, you know, you can just leap out with one of the 500 leaps in this goddamn game. So Hades has an ult that stops him from moving, makes everyone focus him down, and is so easily escapable. Is this man ever gonna get a rework? Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'm actually really sorry it took me this long to get it out. I by no means meant to spend a month on this, but a lot of personal stuff was going on in my life, and I had like a family member have a heart attack, and I had to kill a horse the other day, so you know, shit's been real. Meanwhile, there's a goddamn cricket outside of my window that won't shut up. But enough about that. I hope you guys enjoyed my new mic. I don't know if you can tell a difference in the audio, but you know, I'm trying to improve the quality of my shit content. In other news, if you didn't know, this is kind of like my yearly month of Smite thing that I do leading up to the Smite World Championship. And next week I'll actually be releasing my top 10 worst odds in Smite, and then the week after that I'll be releasing my annual top 10 best odds in Smite for season 3. But also, this year I'm actually attending the Hi-Rez Expo and Smite World Championship as a viewer, so if you would like to meet up and you happen to be going there, then you know, hit me up. I'll be releasing a video and I'll be talking about it on Twitter much closer to the event, so follow me on Twitter if you know, looking, I don't know, I'll say hi. Take a fucking picture shot. I'll sign your forehead. Anyways, I hope you guys really enjoyed the video, and I have other Smite content linked right here. Hope you enjoy it. I'll see you next time.